Hey everybody, back again, and want to talk today about a very important concept in the business world, especially if you are maybe new or starting out a new company, a new website, anything, and that is called a pivot. Pivoting in business, right? What is a pivot? Basically, it's just changing gears, right? Even the best laid plans go astray sometimes. And I don't care how carefully you have, crafted a pitch or worked on a product or, built up your services, whatever it is, marketing campaign, website, product launch, crowdfunding, whatever you're doing, okay? Things don't always go the way that you intend. And so a pivot is just kind of recognizing when things aren't working, identifying what's not working well, and then quickly shifting, changing gears and trying something different to see if that might work better, right? That's called a pivot. When I used to teach, I actually taught a entrepreneur class for a couple of years. Super fun, super cool class. I'll talk about it sometime later. But basically, we took, it was a class for teaching young kids who maybe never had any experience. What does it take to become successful in like the business world? What a lot of the soft skills they needed and practical experience to try and get businesses off the ground. And a big concept we tried to teach early on with these kids was that idea of a pivot and knowing when to change things up when they're not working very well, right? Let's say you're starting a business and you are launching an ad campaign, right? You see this a lot in ads, by the way. They call it split testing, but basically that's pivoting. You are launching your ad campaign, you put a lot of work into it, and you launch the digital ads or marketing plan, whatever you're doing, and nothing's working. Okay, you're not getting any sales. This is actually what's happening to me right now with my startup. What do? Right? Do you just keep shoveling money into this ad campaign, just trying to force results that may not ever come? Or do you realize, okay, that didn't work, that's not getting attention, maybe I should change things and adjust to something else? Maybe I'm targeting the wrong audience, maybe my copy is bad, maybe my visuals aren't clicking, maybe the offer is weak, whatever it is, right? Changing things and trying a different approach, right? Doing it a different way. And again, maybe that doesn't work either. Okay, well then maybe you need to do another pivot and try something else. Maybe after doing a couple pivots, your business just isn't getting off the ground. Well, maybe the pivot then should be, maybe it's just not a viable business. Maybe there's no market for this, right? Well, then maybe then you should get out of that business, right? Pivoting is very, very valuable because again, what's the alternative? You just keep throwing away your time and money on something that's just not going to work. That can be incredibly costly. So, I think that's probably why a lot of businesses end up going out of business, right? Because they're not pivoting when they should be. Case in point, right? Everyone picks on them now. Blockbuster Video. Hey, you already know what I'm talking about, right? Blockbuster, huge in the 90s, rentals and all that stuff, late fees. Blockbuster was everywhere. You couldn't throw a rock without hitting a Blockbuster. But then what happens, right? The market changes. Redbox comes around. You can just go and rent from a kiosk anywhere, right? Netflix comes around. Now online streaming and getting things in the mail, which Netflix still does. Who does that anymore? I don't even know. That'd be interesting to see. The business starts changing, and Blockbuster waited too long to pivot and change their marketing strategy to try and follow the Netflix model. Too little, too late, and you don't see Blockbusters anymore. I think maybe there's one in Alaska. It's like the last Blockbuster in existence. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's a thing, right? They waited too long to pivot, and it ruined their entire company. Another example that I like to bring up in my class, Xbox. Yeah, right? Sorry, if there's any Xbots out here, sorry, right? One sec. Throat still a little not good from allergies. Xbox One Yeah, Xbone. When the Xbone came out a few years back, right? It was pretty expensive because not only did you have to buy the Xbox console, the Xbox happened to come with, if you remember, what was it? Does anybody know? Kinect. It had the Kinect that came with the box. That little thing where you would wave at the TV and try and... Kinect is stupid. Xbox is stupid. Yeah, I'm a PlayStation honk. What are you going to do? Anyway, Kinect was killing Xbox sales because it made the console way too expensive. I could get an Xbox One for, I don't know what, $550, or get a PlayStation 4 for like $399, $400, right? Well, they are pretty close. I guess I'll just get the Xbox or the PlayStation, sorry, because it's cheaper. That Kinect had a lot of technology in it, but it added to the price of the Xbox. Xbox got slaughtered because the Kinect, people didn't want it. And eventually they got the message and they pivoted, right? They got rid of the Kinect, lower the price of the Xbox so it was more aligned with the PlayStation. Problem was, probably waited a little bit too long. They didn't make that change soon enough. PlayStation got a huge installed base. It was I don't know if it's a runaway hit in the beginning, but it was the leader of the consoles this generation. Got a huge installed base, a lot of support, and Xbox has been playing catch up ever since for a lot of reasons. But a big one was that Kinect, right? And they didn't pivot in time. So again, if you're trying to start a business, be aware if things aren't working, you may have to change the way that you're running this business of yours, because it's, you're going to have to pivot if you want to try and find success. Now, I just want to stress, there's a double-edged sword to this. There's a split side to pivoting, and that is that sometimes you may be pivoting too early, right? And it's a fine line between knowing when to make changes and just knowing, well, maybe you're not giving this business idea enough time. Maybe you're not giving it enough of your energy, right? Maybe or money or resources. Maybe it's viable and could work, but you just got to have that patience, right, to build things up. So sometimes a pivot can hurt if you pivot too early and pivot away from something that can be successful. And I'll be honest, this is probably something that I'm guilty of. Among my friends and family, I'm guilty for, not guilty, but there's an analogy I'm trying to think of again. I can't remember. I'm always starting new ideas and little ventures and hustles. And I'm always starting new ones because the ones I tried before never seem to work the way I want to. And my problem is I think I pivot too early, right? I'll launch something cool and awesome and put a lot of time and work into it. And then after, one or two, I don't want to say failures, but if it just doesn't, catch on the way I want to, my habit, I guess, my default is to pivot away from that idea and into a different, better idea that I had just come up with recently. And so I think sometimes, like I said, I pivot too much, and it's not a change. I do a detour. I pivot way too far away and from some of these projects and startups and ideas I've had. So just be careful is what I'm trying to say, because pivoting can be hurtful if you are maybe not doing it when you should be. Does that even make sense? Am I making sense right now? Is what I would ask when I was teaching. Just be careful. Pivot smart, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So I wouldn't pivot at the first sign of difficulty, but that's when you're gonna start split testing, I guess, right? Try and do some variations on things, change things up a little bit, and see if that gives you some better results. If you do some changes and adjustments, some tweaking, and you're still not getting results with that tweak, then you might want to try and make a big pivot and try and attack things from a different angle, right? And then tweak that. So, but don't be like failed entrepreneur and just abandon things. That's what it's, abandonment. That's not a good thing to have. I got abandonment issues. So anyway, like I said, pivot. Important concept, tricky concept. As you can see, there's some big name companies that struggle with pivoting and have had some big consequences from it. But especially when you're starting out, being able to be flexible and to pivot is very, very important as well. So there you go. Change, right? There you go. Whole video about change. That's it for today. I got stuff to do. Hopefully I start feeling better. This cold slash allergies sucks. It's like feeling 80% every day, and it's just like, you're not sick enough to like be in bed all day, but you're just, everything is so much more uncomfortable. Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. Anyway, okay. I'll catch you later. Adios.